Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. I'm really glad you guys are here for another video. So this week's video is going to be an interesting video and we're going to talk a little bit about cable internet. Now I'm going to play a scenario for you guys on the screen and you tell me if this scenario looks all too familiar to you.
Airbus workers construct the most advanced passenger aircraft in the world. The Airbus A350, of the world's most advanced passenger aircraft. Unloading the unique Beluga super transporters is Batiste's dream job.
What the heck is going on? Every time, man, I swear, this happens every time. I guess I gotta give him a call. So if buffering is a thing in your household and you get problems with your cable internet all the time, I think the question you start to ask yourself is, do I have the right internet package? Is my hardware working? Like, what really is the problem? A lot of times people don't know. So what they'll do is they'll actually contact the cable companies, right? It's the next step. Makes sense, right? So that is exactly what I did. I ended up calling the cable company. And let's take a look at what their suggestion is in order to fix the problem that we just saw. Here we go again.
Welcome to this call may be recorded for quality and security purposes. Para español, marque 5. Okay, please tell me the phone number associated with your account, or your account number. Or say, I don't have an account.
401.
That was 401, right?
No.
Sorry, my mistake. Let's try one more time. Once again, please say or key in the 10-digit phone number associated with your account. Or give me your account number, one digit at a time. If you're not sure of either number, say, I don't know it, or press 1.
401.
That was 401, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to find a matching account. Please say or enter the 10-digit phone number associated with your account, or your account number. Or say, I don't know it, or press 1.
845.
Okay, got it. Next, please say or enter only the street number part of your service address. For example, if your address is 467 Maple Street, you'd say or enter 467.
987.
That was 987, right?
Yes.
That doesn't match the address I have on file. Let's continue anyway. In a few words, please tell me what you're calling about.
Internet speeds are slow.
Okay, issues with your internet service. I'm not seeing an internet outage in your area. Are you having this issue with one device or more than one? If you're not sure, say, I don't know.
More than one.
If you've already tried that or need to speak to someone, say representative. Otherwise, please...
Representative.
Sorry, all right. I'll get someone to help you. Please hold while I transfer you to a technical support representative. All of our customer service representatives are assisting other callers. Please remain on the line for the next available customer service representative.
One eternity later.
Thank you for calling phone repair. My name is and how can I help you today?
Yeah, I'm calling because my family and I, for some odd reason, whenever we are, watching Netflix or YouTube TV, any kind of streaming, or sometimes even, if we're doing gaming at the house, like we get a lot of buffering. I'm not really sure what may be the issue. So I'm kind of wondering now if hopefully someone can help me out and try to, track down what the issue may be and how we can correct that.
When it comes to internet, depending on the amount of speed that you have, per the devices that you have connected, that definitely can have an effect on it because, somebody who has ultra internet, which in this case you do, if you have like 35 devices, which I have seen before, connected, that definitely can put a strain on the internet. So then in that case, if you wanted the next upgrade from the Ultra where you're at now, that would be the Gigabyte, which would definitely be much better because then it would be able to handle all those devices that you have connected. Yep. So it would be an extra $40 a month for the gig, which would bring your charge up to $94.99 a month.
So now we saw cable suggestion, right? They always, for whatever reason, want to upsell us on something. I've seen it happen many, many times throughout the years. So in my particular case, right, and I'm sure in a lot of people's cases, they don't really mind paying for the right services that they need, right? We just want it to work because there's things we want to do, such as, watching Netflix, watching YouTube TV. Maybe we have to work at home, right? It just needs to work. Let's jump on the computer and let's see if the recommendation that they're giving us is correct. So welcome to my desktop, where we're going to take a look to see if the recommendation that was given from the cable company is actually really the right recommendation and what we really should follow. So let's jump on in and let's take a look at what we got going on here. So as I mentioned on the call, and as I mentioned on a couple of things that we're doing, so again, we're doing streaming, right? We're watching Netflix or watching YouTube TV, maybe a little bit of gaming. Let's take a look at, for example, Xbox. What does that require? We work from home. There's a lot of different things. But let's jump in and look at the data and see what's really happening. So here we have on the screen internet recommendation speeds from Netflix. As you can see here, in order to see a 4K high definition stream, you really need 15 megabits per second, right? You don't really need anything too high. So let's do a quick example. Let's say in our case, we have 4 people in our home, and let's say all of us are watching a 4K stream all at one time. With a little bit of math here, we can see that we need a total of 60 megabits per second in order for all 4 of us to watch a stream, a 4K stream, all at the same time. And might I add, that's just peak performance, meaning you're not going to see 15 megabits per second the whole entire time, right? It's just peak. Really, you might see something less than that. Now let's take a look at what YouTube TV says. So as you can see here, YouTube TV recommends at least 3 megabits per second in order to have optimal viewing. Now let's jump over to Microsoft and see what they say if we want a game. Now Microsoft says that you need a minimum of 3 megabits per second on the download and 0.5 megabits on the upload in order to do online gaming. Now, of course, everything that I'm reading here is minimums, as you can see here, minimum standard, and you want to have a lot more than that. But the point is at a minimum, it doesn't require as much as you think it does. So when you're signing up for these plans and you have more than enough bandwidth, something isn't right if these companies are saying, hey, here's the minimum requirement, and your package significantly goes over that, but yet you still have some buffering and some network issues. Now that we know minimum requirements and some data, let's take a look at some other piece of information in order to help you understand really what may be the problem and really what kind of a solution we can use in order to take advantage of the internet speeds that we subscribe to. Now that we've seen a little bit about what these companies are recommending as far as minimum internet speeds that are required, here on the screen, you're actually getting a look at some of the things that we do in our household. And on top of that, you're also getting an idea of what is the minimum amount of clients or devices that we have on in our home at one given time. So as you can see here, we have 24 devices that are always on in our home. And that doesn't include devices that may turn off from time to time or turn on. So think about tablets, right? When the kids are going to go to sleep, we turn those off. Think about, we have some devices such as robot vacuums that turn on when they need to and then turn off when they don't need to, right? So at a given time, we have 24 devices. And as I mentioned before, we do a couple different things, right? You see Netflix on here, you see some YouTube TV. We have a couple mobile devices in the home. We also have gaming, right? We looked at the Xbox a little bit. Learn from home. The kids are always learning from home. We have Internet of Thing devices. Think of the robot vacuum that I was just talking about. And then obviously work from home. We work from home. And so making sure we have the right internet connection and the right solution is really the key to making all this work. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to show you really what's happening in our home with all these devices connected at once. Really, what speeds do we really need? And we can only see that by taking a look at our data, and our data tells you exactly what speeds you're really needing as opposed to just guessing like the cable companies tell you. So here on the screen is a couple of different things, and follow me here. So we have a data capture window of 24 hours worth of network data in our home. So as you saw from before, we had 24 devices that are always on, and some of them that turn on and off. So at a given time, we can have anywhere between 24 to almost 40 devices on in our home at any given time. And this is how the data looks for our particular house. And remember, we are a house of 4 and we have all these devices. And so this gives you a picture of how much data we consume as a family. And really, it should give you a picture of what you may need in your home. So as you can see here in the chart, right, we have this picture, and this picture has orange and a little bit of blue in the bottom. So the orange is the download speeds and the blue is the upload speeds. And you can see that's denoted over here as well. And it actually even tells you over here as far as reception and transmission. But the biggest thing that I want you to focus on here is the average and the maximum is really the important key data points. So the maximum is, what is the maximum amount of data that we use in a 24-hour period? And as you can see here from the capture that we have, our data on the download is 18.24 megabytes per second. On the download, 0.82 megabytes per second on the upload. Now, the interesting thing is cable companies, they don't sell their packages as megabytes per second, right? It's megabits per second. So that is where the megabytes per second to megabits per second conversion applies, as you can see over here. The maximum, right, 18.24 megabytes per second translates into 145.92 megabits per second, and 0.82 megabytes per second translates into 6.56 megabits per second. So that gives you an idea of how much on the maximum that we use at a small period of time. And you can see actually in the graph that it's only for a small period of time. It's really not for a long period of time. So the important thing is on average, how much are you really using in a 24-hour period? And that's where this comes into play that you're seeing over here. And so in our household with all these devices and all the things that we do, we're doing an average of 5.36 megabits per second on the download and 0.4 megabits per second on the upload. Very, very drastically different than what the cable companies are recommending. So now that we know how much data we're using for a family of 4 and all the devices in a 24-hour period, let's take a look and see how the numbers add up. So here we have our data speeds per price, and we can see here that we have all the major cable companies listed. And on average, right, we have their starter, their intermediate, and their pro packages. As you can see by the data here, the smallest package from all these cable companies is on average 287.5 megabits per second on the download, with an average cost of $74.48, all the way up to their pro version, which is 1050 megabits per second, or they like to call it gigabit speeds, at $107.23 per month. So if we just saw the data that we use in our household, right, and we saw how much we really need, it seems to me like the pro doesn't really make sense. You're just going to be overpaying for things that you don't need. So if you're telling me, hey, you can get away with the starter because the starter is giving you almost 300 megabits per second. And as you saw on the download speeds, you really only had a maximum of 145, almost 146 megabits per second. So I can more than double with the smallest package here and still meet the demands of my home. So if you're counting, right, the difference between your starter and your pro is $32.75, as you're seeing in the savings here. So now the question is, well, if you can get away with the smallest package, why is it that you're still having problems in your home, right? Why are you still buffering? Well, let's talk a little bit about what that solution can be. So it's no secret that I'm a big fan of Asus products and their AI mesh technology. Now, I've done a couple of videos in the past about this specific technology, so I'll put a link in the description below. The one thing I laugh about is the more I talk about Asus, which, by the way, send me a check because, I only recommend it to you guys. I don't get paid for this. It's really just when something works well in my home, I also want you guys to experience the same thing too. So why go through all the headaches when somebody else already did and solved it? And it's just telling you, what options are available in order to overcome some of these problems. So moving on to, like I said, AI mesh technology, which I think is incredible. And so it allows for what you see on the left-hand side here, which is seamless roaming. So as you see the little device traveling along the house, one of the really cool things about AI mesh technology is that it allows the device to communicate with the router. And if you happen to move away from the router and your internet signal is getting weak, that connection to the router gets passed over to the next router that is closest to you. So that way your signal strength and your Wi-Fi experience in the house will not be affected. You'll get great performance throughout your home, which I think is really, really cool. And then the other thing that you see here to the right that is part of the AI mesh technology is the self-healing network. And it's really cool because as you start putting more routers in your home, let's say one of those routers fail and it's no longer working. Well, the technology is smart enough to see that that router that failed is a router that it can no longer communicate with and decides to remove that router out of the picture, as you can see there. And it then starts to communicate with another router and say, hey, look, here's the new path that we have because the other guy that was in the network is no longer talking and is no longer working. So what that does is it allows you to still have that connection without experiencing any interruptions, which I think is very, very cool. Now, the other thing that you get with the Asus product is what's called AI protection. And one of the things that I really love about this is that it gives you a 360 protection while you're using an Asus router on your network. And some of the things that AI protection does is it allows you to block access to malicious websites. It protects against attacks. And then also as well, it does infected device detection and blocking. Not only do you need the hardware in order to make sure that all your devices on your network can talk and utilize the bandwidth that you're paying for, but the other thing too that I tell people is I recommend getting an internet security package, specifically Asus routers. They'll protect you in the home, right, whenever you're in the house. But what happens when you leave outside of the house and you're no longer on that Asus router? Say, for example, you take your laptop on a vacation or you take maybe, your phone with you, right? You still need to be protected when you're not in your home network. So let's take a look at a cost breakdown to see how much this will cost you if you were to implement both the hardware and also as well the software packages that you need to protect yourself to give you that whole protection, plus on top of that, having the right internet package. So here's the breakdown of the cost for having the hardware. And in this case, I specifically chose an Asus Zen Wi-Fi XT9. And then on top of that, we also have an internet security suite, and we do it for a 24-month period. And there's a bunch of them out there. You can obviously do your own research as to which one you want. But generally, from what I've seen, it's about $119.99 for a 24-month subscription. So here we see that in year one, it's going to cost us $499.98. And this is, of course, without taxes or shipping, right? When we chose the right internet package, we had a savings of $32.75. So what we can do is we can actually take our savings and actually invest it in buying the hardware and the software that we need to do this whole solution that I'm talking about. So obviously within year one, right, there's no savings there. We're still trying to pay off the hardware and the software package. But by the time we get to year two, 15 months in, so meaning 12 months of the first year and then 3 months of the second year, we fully paid off the cost of the router and also as well the internet package solution. So that means the remaining months is where our savings comes into play, which is $294.75. Now let's take a look at year 3 and year 4, because year 3, we still have to pay for the internet security subscription, right? So that's $119.99. This is the really cool part. We've already paid off the hardware, so we don't have to pay for that again, right? We own it. So really it's just the cost of the internet security package. So after 4 months of our savings of having the right internet package, we've already paid off the 2-year subscription for our internet security package. And the rest of that is just complete savings for us, right? So which is really, really cool because we start saving $262. Now, by the time we get to year 4, we've paid off not only the hardware, but also as well, we've paid off the software. And it's a total of $393 in total savings. Why? Because we have the $32.75 that we saved every single month. And we've had that for the whole entire year because we've paid off the hardware and also the software. So the really cool thing is if you factor in the savings that you have from year 4, the savings that you got in year 3, and the savings that you got in year 2, you have a total savings of $949.75 within a 4-year window. So how incredible is that? Not only did I save you close to $1,000, but also as well, you're protected from any malicious activity with an internet security package. outside of your home and also inside of your home with the router that I just talked about. And you have the ability to spread out the bandwidth throughout the whole home using AI mesh, which I think is incredible. So really, this becomes a whole home solution. And I think this is one of the things where a lot of people really don't understand and they get this wrong. But if you get this right, you'll be able to get the lower package and have the quality that you need in your internet service. So there you have it, folks. We just actually took a look at what the real solution was versus what we got recommended from cable. And the interesting thing is, not a lot of people know this type of information because, again, it requires a level of technical know-how in order to gather the data, see exactly, what most people need in their home, how you can set up hardware and software to work together to give you the best package and the best experience in your home. And let's face it, right? The average person just doesn't know this. And it's quite unfortunate that cable companies actually use this tactic in order to make you subscribe for something a lot higher than you really need. But don't worry, you have us here to educate you on exactly what it is you need for your home and the right tools that you need in order to get the job done correctly instead of paying all this money and continue to pay all this money without really getting any resolution. So if you like this content and it helped you out a lot, make sure you hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so that way you're notified whenever we upload content to the channel. And doing all three of those items will also help the channel grow so other people can see the channel and learn as well. So that'll do it for me, folks. Hopefully you learned something in this video, and I'll see you guys on the next video.